Greetings, hello, and welcome, everybody. This is Jim McKeith, and joining me is the amazing Ian Barker.
The amazing Ian Barker. I sound like I'm going to do some magic tricks, but I'm afraid I'm not. So,
well, you got a cool background. That makes it pretty amazing.
What can I say? It's all AI driven. So,
so today we're going to go through the Enterprise Software Development Article Challenge submissions and announce the winners. So this was started a while ago, and frankly, I got busy, and apologies for not getting it done earlier, but hey, we're going to go through them now, and there's some great entries here, and share a little bit about each one, and then announce the winners. We're going to have a grand prize winner and a follow-up winner. So if everybody wanted to read these, Ian, how's the best way to find them on the website?
Go to blogs.embarcadero.com, or just go to the main Embarcadero site and click on blog at the top. And once you're there, if you scroll down, on the right here, there's a thing that says case study, this green thing that I'm making flash there. Click on case study and you will get a list of all of them. But starting off is the actual article itself, which just says what the rules were and what the prizes would be and all those other things as well. So
one of the things we did differently this time compared to other times we've done this is we allowed for if you weren't necessarily the original creator of this, if you're like aware of someone else doing it, or if you couldn't announce who, if you weren't involved, if you wanted to remain anonymous, we allowed for that. So I think we had a couple of those that were that way. So
yeah, there was one person in particular who said because of NDA they couldn't reveal who they were, or they didn't want to reveal. We know who they are, and it didn't affect your creditability or your ability to win, shall we say, put it that way. And one person had an invisible friend, but I'm afraid it's the real person that gets the prize if they get it, not the invisible friend. I had to laugh. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So
Martha had me tested. Yes.
Actually, that when I was in school, they did have me tested too. But
well, there you go. Yeah, if they click on case study, they'll get to here, and all of these articles we're going to talk about are there. So plenty of them. We had a lot of submissions, and they were really, really good. There was only one that I actually had to say that I couldn't do it as the editor for it, just because there was a bit of a language barrier going on, and I got back to them a couple of times, and unfortunately we couldn't make each other understood, even with the delights of Google Translate and things like that. But that was the only one. Most of the other submissions we got through. If I didn't publish your submission, I'm sorry about that. The ones that I received, they probably got published. So we did our best, shall we say?
Yep. We'll have to do this again as well. All right, so let's get started here with the first one.
Yeah. So this is a banking app, and it is from a skim through and find his name. Oh, it was Surendra. Let me see.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Surendra. There you go, Surendra Siddhi Bhattacharya. I'm going to mangle people's names, aren't I? Very interesting. Liked it. Lots of good sort of information in there about what they did in Nepal, which is where his app was actually used. A lot of background.
I remember in this one that he talked about that he was starting out like long ago, like DBase and Paradox and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean DBase 4 to Delphi 5. That's a bit of a leap as well, but he did sort of go through and. He's still using Delphi today, and actually he's got some awards as well. This is
CIO Magazine, which is a big magazine in the U.S. for CIOs, I guess, and he was recognized as one of the top 10 core banking solutions, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and so many people say, "Oh, what apps are written in Delphi? Tell me which." I challenge you, as if we're kind of lying about people using apps in the real world. There are a lot out there. They just chug away in the background and keep going. And this is an example of one that, it's very well respected. It's won awards, and it's written in Delphi. So what can you say? This is another app. Very, very beautiful app. This is Gustavo Valle Mascarenhas. He's based in Brazil as well. Very good app. Actually sitting in the App Store. Very pretty. Good use of themes as well, and good use of the device capabilities as well. Went into quite a lot of detail and talked about how they scanned IDs and things like that, which I think is terribly brave to do that kind of thing, but there was a reason why. Great app. Once again, all written in Delphi and cross-platform and using push services and Java intents as well for the Android stuff as well. So
yeah,
very good. He actually submitted the article in Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese, and then I used Google Translate and then edited it for him into English as well, just so that both people there. But if you are Brazilian and you speak Portuguese, feel free to read what he wrote originally, and maybe Google said something horrible that he didn't actually say, but interesting article. Yeah, Leaper. I don't know whether you've heard of these people, but I looked them up, and they're apparently massive, Jim. They're huge.
I think I have heard of them, but it's one of those things. It's like you hear of this like big company that does these things that, you know, just operating in the background, and
it's like Panasonic, isn't it? If you said, what do Panasonic do? You think, well, I'm sure they do this or something like that, but they are actually everywhere. Well, apparently Leaper has the same very big things. That image in the background there is of a container ship, and actually that's one of the things that Leaper do. They do these big engines and stuff like that for them, as far as I can understand. This article is all about it's from Didier Cabale, and it is all about an app called Schooly, which is the kind of back end, I suppose, management tool for some of the Leaper tools, the Leaper engines and stuff like that. Lots of screenshots in there, lots of explanations of how it worked. Really great, worth reading for anybody just to understand what they're doing. They do use other technologies as well, and there's a lot of pressure in their industry to adopt well-known libraries and stuff like that. But the Delphi app is still hanging in there currently and doing some wonderful stuff. So what can you say?
Yeah, I think most big projects with, you know, developers are going to have multiple technologies, and that's the way of the world, and that's fine. But yeah, it's great to see. This is actually, Dieter's been around in the community for quite a while, so it's good to see. I always never knew what it was he was involved in, so that's cool.
This one, it was a little bit of a jokey title there because some people panicked that we were actually financing some kind of horrible drug dealing organization, but that is not the case. This was to do with pharmaceutical drugs, obviously. They're not the illicit drugs. And it's from Brazil. And this is Landerson's app. Very well designed app, very pretty. Lot of depth behind there, talking about how he started it off, what it does, and the kind of solutions that he uses Data Snap as the back end and a few other things as well. Lots of information about that. If you're not familiar with Landerson, great guy, he's an MVP, and you know, very active. I see his name come up quite a lot in all sorts of places.
He's actually really big in the education community down in Brazil. Most of the, I don't know if all the schools do, but a lot of the schools teach Delphi to the students there, and he's a big part of getting that all working and keeping everybody up to speed on the latest news and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Brazil is a really huge market for Delphi developers, and it's quite frightening how many there are and how little I speak of their language. In fact, zero. I think is. I can say bom dia. I think that means good day or something. I know you've been learning it, but there you go. So anyway, Landerson, yes, great article, very, very good. Enjoyed that a lot. And this was, I think, the PMs and Jim and myself thought this was probably one of the most hilarious articles we've come across. This particular developer is Vladimir Timofeyev. And Vladimir, you made us laugh so much. It was just so funny. I actually had to, each week I would send over a little summary of the articles we were going to publish. And I had to attach a warning to this one saying, hey guys, this one's about an imaginary friend, but there is a purpose behind it. It's not all crazy. And a really great article, really enjoyed it. You know, kudos for him as well, because I get the impression that English is not his first language, but he wrote the article in English, and it was very, very interesting. He talked more in kind of broad terms than specifics, but there is a little bit about REST client and REST responses and stuff like that, and how he was using FireDAC and various other technologies. So it was interesting, but it's definitely worth a read, because he says, I have an imaginary friend, let's assume. Yeah, you're obviously a programmer if you've got an imaginary friend. So.
Oh yeah, I mean yeah, exactly. We all have that imaginary thing that's causing us trouble, or that we have to explain things to figure it out.
It's always their fault when there's a bug, and not mine. So that's it. C++ Builder, trusted enabler for this SAMD. There was a couple of C++ articles, not as many as I thought there would be, given how popular C++ is. This was from a Taiwan biotech company. I think this person might have been one of the ones that said they wanted to stay anonymous. Let me just check that.
This is SAMD, is software as a medical device. Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. Actually, Curon. No, I tell a lie. It isn't. The company is called Curon. I don't know why I haven't put their name in a more obvious place. Maybe I should have emboldened them. Perhaps I should go back and edit the articles. But anyway, yeah, software as a medical device. Interesting concept, and also slightly terrifying. I don't think I'd ever like to work on applications that are involved in there. The weird thing about it is the software as a medical device wasn't actually what you would think. If you said medical device, you'd think pacemaker or insulin pump or something like that. But do you know what this device is? It's a spoon. It's a spoon.
Heard about this. This was Parkinson's. That's right.
Yeah, it's called Eat So Free. And what it does is it suppresses vibrations in people's hands that have Parkinson's. Because when I first read medical device, I thought, oh my word, if you get that wrong, do you accidentally make someone's heart stop or something like that? Or what about RF interference? No, it's a spoon. What a great idea! I really admire this particular this app. Stuff like this that I see doing sort of altruistic things, okay, for a profit, admittedly, but modest profit. They're not being horrible about it, but to see this kind of stuff is heartening. To see people doing good with programs, and that's one of the benefits. So yeah,
I know that I've talked to a number of people internally that don't deal with customers very much, and when they see articles like this, they're like, "Wow, it's exciting to see." Stuff I'm involved in just making the world a better place like this. Yeah,
it really is used. Yeah, exactly. And I tell people this all the time. This one was slightly tongue-in-cheek. How Delphi helped to stay out of jail. Again, the article titles are there for a purpose, but it was quite an interesting one.
This was the investment banking, right? Yeah, investment banking. Yep.
Yeah, and it was all about the topical subject of what happens if things go wrong. And this was the person that said, I would like to remain anonymous. And when you read the article, you'll understand why, because banks get a little bit twitchy about you giving out their details. And of course, they still work with banks to this day, but they do go into quite a lot of detail about the app and what it does, and all kind of things like that. But they didn't really give me many screenshots because they couldn't. That was the main reason why. So
yeah, and so yeah, and they're remaining anonymous, and also not saying which bank specifically he works with. Which that's fine.
They picked a bank out at random and said this is not necessarily the bank, so that's fine.
Yeah.
And this was an article that was really more of a kind of love story rather than specific kind of, hey, listen to this app. It's really cool. And this is from Mikola Patalacci. And it wasn't really so much of an article about an app. It is about ERP, which is an app, but it was more about how much they love the app, the language, and what they like about it and the benefits of it. But even so, that doesn't make any difference. We did say it's about enterprise apps, and the experience of it is. And
ERP is enterprise. Oh, I can't remember it.
Yeah, enterprise resource planning.
Resource planning. Yep.
Yeah.
I want to get the R wrong, and then I get confused.
Yeah, ERP, CRP. There's all sorts of weird acronyms. So that's it.
So actually, we go back to if you want to go back to that one. One thing I liked about this one is it was the so we did a few years ago where we had people share their story about how they got into Delphi, and it's always neat. And there are a number of people that share their stories about how they started using Delphi or how they got into programming, and it's really inspiring. Honestly, I think so. Yeah, this was great. Good to see stories like this.
So many people saying, "I love the language. I really love it." And even you know, and he won't mind me saying this, but there is a guy who's actually just retired from Microsoft, and I won't say his name, but he's a Delphi guy, and he keeps saying he's actually was in charge of the terminal team, Windows Terminal, and he first got in touch with me. Because he's a Welshman living in the United States, although he's just moved back to the UK because he's retired. And he said, I just wanted to say, I love Delphi. It was a brilliant language. And the only reason I stopped using it is because I had to do machine code and all this kind of stuff. But I really love it. And that's something that you get a lot of people say who, even now, if they're not using the language, they still talk about it fondly. So it's actually quite nice to be thought of fondly. This was a little bit of play on words, core of tracking your Apple, and I have to say that this was from Alberto Fornes, and he freaked out when I showed him the title because I allowed everybody to see their articles before they got published, just to make sure I didn't say anything wrong in the editing of their article. And he said, "Hey, I want you to be absolutely clear. It's not all apples. Actually, it's oranges, and quite a lot of oranges." I said, "Yeah, but I'm trying to pretend it's about Apple, aren't I?" So
because you're kind of a fun guy.
My little play on words. But a great article, and he talks about how they track pallets of fruit, so boxes of fruit, big lots of fruit from fruit farms through Spain, I think it was, and they put RF tags on the boxes on the pallets, and then they track them. It's all done with Delphi, and they print barcodes off and stuff like that. Very, very interesting article. Really great. Enjoyed it quite a lot.
There's the oranges right there.
Yeah, I mean, I would describe the UI as functional rather than, a wow factor beautiful, but it's not unattractive. It's just designed to suit the purpose. So that's the way these things are. But yeah, really good.
I've worked at a number of places that have these big enterprise solutions, and usually the UI is very practical. It's like what they're going for.
We used to deal with a big nuclear power station in the UK, and I once went to part of their control room. I had to be searched before I went here. It was very, very bizarre, and searched when I left as well. But their screens, they had all these very impressive monitors everywhere, and it looked exactly like we'd expect a nuclear power station to look like. And the apps looked like they'd been made in DBase 4 or something. It was quite amazing. They were practical, but not pretty. So there you go. Anyway, this one was about toothbrushing, which I thought was funny. I used to work on dental software. Anwar Hamza Sharif, very interesting, all about periodontal charting. If you go to the dentist and he starts calling out numbers, or she is calling out numbers, and they're talking about upper seventh and lower fifth, it sounds like guitar chords, but it's actually where your teeth are horrible and what's happening to them. And I've just came back from the dentist a little while ago, so I feel your pain, literally. But great app, and I was very impressed with the software that they'd written as well. They talked about how they drew the charts and everything. So really
interesting thing. Also, my dentist, they have the technology in dental work, but these days is amazing. So they actually can make crowns in the dentist's office now. They just scan your mouth, and they have this machine that mills it out. But I was looking at the software they use, and there's a few things, as a Delphi developer, there's a few things you're like, ooh, that's a VCL application, isn't it? Well, and of course they didn't know, but there are a lot of
that. Like I said, for 10 years, I actually wrote dental software, all in Delphi, and it was patient education software, and it would show you if you had a treatment plan where they say we're going to file down your teeth, do this filling, do this, and you get a long treatment plan where they're trying to justify their huge bill. this was all drawn in Delphi, and this was in 1999, I think, and then carried on until 2009 when I emigrated to the United States. But all written in Delphi, and very, very popular. 70% of the dentists in the UK used it, so it was quite good. But anyway, we're talking about my stuff rather than this poor guy's stuff. Great app, really liked it. This one, Bruno, who you will know, Jim, one of our internal guys.
Architects, he's a good guy.
He was very scathing about this title and said it was, that's just sensationalist. He was really kind of like, and I felt a bit miffed about that because actually, if you read through the article, Rick Kamenos, who actually wrote the article, and I just edited these and put them together, he actually took a C++ app, which, as Bruno pointed out, the guy does say, was mediocre. So he says, well, we converted it to Delphi, and it went from hours runtime to minutes. Now, I don't know about you, but I still think there are 60 minutes in an hour. So if it took hours plural and now takes minutes, I think it's fair to say it's a 60 times speed boost. Bruno said, well, it was a mediocre C++ app. I'm not trying to be horrible about Rick, but maybe it was a mediocre Delphi app. Come on, give us the benefit of the doubt here. It was honestly a sensationalist title, but come on, That's
the biggest problem with benchmarks. And I get people all the time like wanting benchmarks to compare like performance. And it's like, we can do a benchmark to show anything, but at the end of the day, if you get a really talented programmer, they can probably change that. The important thing is that it is performant. You make a Delphi app, it can be as performant, as you need it to be, and that's really the key takeaway, I think.
And actually, the point of the article wasn't really about the speed boost, although that was the eye-catching title. It was more about the fact that how he used, InterBase in the background and the component sets that he used, how he swapped from Visual Studio and C++ to Delphi, and the benefits that he felt he got.
Is that Rick in that last picture there? Is that?
No, that's just a stock photograph. It would be cool if it was, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that was not Rick. I don't think anybody. I think the only person that gave me an image of themselves was David, who'll be coming up shortly. This is another one. How I risked my professional career and won. That's Matthew's word. Matthew Kenneth Bieski. I'm going to say that's how you spell his name, but let's call him Matthew or Matt. And he was talking about what he liked about Delphi, and really, once again, it was more of a love story of Pascal and Object Pascal. But the interesting thing here was how he fell into using Delphi. He was working at CompUSA, which I'm sure you've got fond memories of, and I remember CompUSA. They just went broke just after I moved over and started living here. But he was working at CompUSA, and he was stacking the shelves, and he saw this Turbo Pascal thing and thought, "What's that?" And he said, he looked at the Turbo Vision framework. He read the box literature on the back, and he was so impressed. He thought, "I'm going to have to try this." So he got a copy of Delphi and taught himself Delphi and Turbo Pascal, which he knew a little bit of already. And he was really just saying why he liked Delphi and what he thought about it. And he liked it so much, he actually stopped working at CompUSA, which, ironically, he says a safe job. Well, if you're not an American, maybe you don't know, but poor old CompUSA does not exist anymore, unfortunately. So I wouldn't describe it as the safest job in the world, but that's the way of commerce. But yeah, he gave up his job at CompUSA and said, "You know what? I'm gonna try and write Delphi code," and he's never looked back. The whole article is really about him saying, "You know what? I'm glad I did it. I think it was the right thing to do."
Yeah. I've talked to a lot of people that have gone through a similar journey.
Yeah. Well, I always knew I wanted to be a developer from the age of 14. My father was in the industry, so I've done other jobs, but I knew that was what I wanted to do. And then when I saw Delphi, I thought that makes sense. This one, the world's best fruit fly research engine. The reason we use research engine is because we didn't want to say the G word, which David made the mistake of saying it's the G of flute fry research. You can't say that because there's a ton of lawyers that live out in whatever Google one loop it is, and they will come and descend on you. But he did call it the Google of flute fry research, and we're allowed to say that if we quote it. It's fair use. But anyway, research engine, and really David Schwartz, who is a well-known developer. We all of us know him, both named yourself, Jim, and I know him. And David, great guy. My word, he wrote a lot, and he was the only person to include a picture of himself. So there he is. Hello, David.
Thank you, David.
Appreciate it. And for sharing. Really great article, goes into a lot of depth about it. This was in conjunction with a researcher because fruit flies are used for a lot of research, and we talk about that in the article as well. But really liked that. Good article. Great story, the $800 million bug report. And David Bolton, another David, talks about what happened here. And
which is not the most expensive bug report. I read a book about like really big software faux pas a few years back, and there's some doozies.
Well, there's that one with NASA, wasn't there? Some satellite that went up and they got a decimal place or minus sign or something in the wrong place, and the rocket just hurtled back to Earth. I'm sure that was pretty expensive. Rockets don't come cheap, but yes. Anyway, as an ordinary developer, an $800 million bug is slightly scary. I've been responsible for, if I did something wrong, it would put a company out of business. So I know how that pressure feels. Luckily, so far, I haven't done that. But, it's always a chance that I'll get something wrong and we'll get sued and go bust. But, yeah, very interesting article. Talks about how the bug works. It's all to do with the fact that it's real-time software with financial trading, and that if something goes down, they've got literally seconds to fix it. And it's really all about, having a performant app that works, accurately and fast and doesn't go wrong. And that's, of course, one of the things that Delphi is actually very good at. So, he talks a little bit about some of the high technology in the background as well. So, like that.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, the most expensive bug was also in that same industry. It was where they had microservices and they tried to take them down and it didn't go down all. And then one of them was running the wrong version or something weird. And we did another one, actually. I just now remembered, and it wasn't Dave, it was somebody else. I think his name was Jim, that was also doing Delphi in real-time financial trading. So a lot of those things.
Jim, I know. He is doing. He was doing high-speed trading as well.
Yep.
Isn't it day trading or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a very interesting guy. He did a webinar, didn't he?
Yep.
Yeah, really terrifying. Really, I try not to do that. I mean, I have enough nightmares about some of the things I have to deal with. But this talking about high pressure. This is an app that literally saves lives. This is from Fabrice Deprez. He's works at Daedalus in Belgium, and really talks about cross-platform app and some of the things he does. But
this is the anesthesia management, right?
Yeah, that's right. They have these terminals, and it's all about managing anesthesia. They've got these devices. I think that was an image from him, and really just discusses how the anesthesia works. I find this absolutely fascinating and also horrifying at the same time in equal parts. I think that if you're writing that, how do you test this? I guess you test this a lot, very thoroughly, but sooner or later there's a point at which you go, okay, let's do this live. And it went wrong.
This is a really important, not just anesthesia, but these life-saving type software, because, well, first of all, anesthesia is one of those things that we don't realize how important it is until we get the bill and say, why is the anesthesia also so expensive? And that's because that's a very important, it's so important. But
out of network, folks, in the United States, that's what happens.
Oh, yeah.
Unconscious.
But the having this specific software, I read a book that talked about the importance of having specialized software like this for managing specific scenarios for things, and not people relying on Excel or just a regular calculator or something like that, or not having the specialized tools, because it is very important to have this to help catch things and prevent issues and stuff. So
yeah, and operating theatres have this idea of they implemented the thing from Japan, where the train station guards point at the signs when the train is about to take off. And the reason they do that is it was discovered that by pointing at things like the red light and whether the doors are closing and the rest of it, actually made the guard pay attention. Because if you didn't do that and you didn't point at it, then his mind would wander, and you get fatigued through. And they adopted this in operating theatres. I read a really good book about this, which I can't remember the title of, where they do the same thing in operating theatres, where they count things out and say them out loud, even though they could all do it with their eyes closed.
Yep.
Because it encourages them to take focus. So, yeah, apps like this, very, very cool. And yet again, use of Delphi that people don't know. It's sitting in the background whilst you're in the land of Nod, having whatever done to yourselves, nose enlargement or whatever you choose to get done under anesthesia. It's fascinating stuff. So. And this was one of our more favourite ones. I think we all liked this.
Yeah.
This is File Optimizer, and by Javier Gutierrez Chamorro. Javier, he's super enthusiastic about C++ Builder. And he was one of the handful of C++ entries that we got. Talks about his app, File Optimizer. If you haven't used it yet, try downloading it. It's really quite incredible. He talks about source code, and it's all written with C++ Builder specifically, rather than any other form of C++. And he talks about some of the components he uses. He did say Visual C++. He mentions it in there, and why he doesn't use it. Actually says that C++ Builder, I'm pleased to say, had some features that Visual C++ didn't. So, but he talks all about it, why he chose that, and all the rest of it. Big fan. Lots of very positive comments about his app once it was brought to people's attention, and the blog post got posted. So,
File Optimizer is one of those programs that I'd used before knowing it was written in C++ Builder. It's like, oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's great. I can't say enough good things about it. Why data scientist chooses Delphi for powerful real world visualizations? Well, data science is one of those things where it's one of those jobs where you go, what do you actually do though? I know you're a data scientist, but what does that really mean? And I think this article does go into explain a little bit about that. It's all to do with analysis and catching trends and things like that. That's my understanding of it anyway. But he talks about the different apps that he uses and how he does it. And I didn't mention his name, but I should give him a name check. It's Max Kleiner.
I know Max. I've seen him around the community a lot.
Yeah, he pops up a lot, and he's a very enthusiastic developer. And his website is a little bit hard to navigate, I have to say, but I did mention that to him. Maybe he'll do something about it. But overall, really great, with some really good code examples in as well. And I definitely think that it's worth a look at for people to take an idea, because he talks about using Java in here and how he gets Java to do some things as well. So there are some little tricks in some of his explanations there. He had the most code, I think, of anybody that submitted, interestingly enough.
Thanks, Max. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it was great. And so we're getting towards the last three. The electronics manufacturing made easy with Delphi and RAD Server. This is what they make. That's a machine that makes it. And it's from Bruce McKibben, who is another name that I recognize as well. And he uses, he said it's called the Mac AOS system, which I don't know why they chose that name, because that's a little bit confusing. But if you go through and read, it's actually very interesting. They've got a great website that goes into detail about their product, and that they also developed a mobile companion for iOS and Android, and used Delphi as well to do that, I think he said. They have a middle tier, which is a Linux deployed RAD server implementation. So it ticked a lot of boxes here. I'm sure marketing people somewhere in Embarcadero going, "Oh, great! Keep talking about stuff like this," because we do, they do like to mention some of the products. RAD Server is a great solution for those who don't know it, but he's actually got it deployed on Linux. So there you go, and he talked about some of the challenges they had, what it is that they do, and blah 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 blah. Lots of different things. I'm not doing him much justice here, but go to that article, go to the main app blog and choose case studies, and you'll find them in there.
So when I saw this one originally, I thought of, and I can't remember the name of what's the most popular software for designing circuit boards is built in Delphi.
Oh, not something CAD.
No, it's anyway, whatever it is, it's built in Delphi as well. So it's interesting that when you see, I'm pretty sure that I think for all of these, that when you see an example of being used in this industry, I found frequently if it's used by one person in the industry, it's probably used by other people in the industry. Because every place I've worked at, when I find out there's other competitors, they're usually using Delphi too. There's a reason it's used a lot in these scenarios, the enterprise scenarios.
Yeah, and if people are wondering why I'm looking over to the right, it's because the way we have our screen set up, Jim is over to my right, and I keep forgetting the broadcasting protocol and looking over to see what he's talking about. So there you go. But yes, it's great. Good article. And the next article is our runner-up, Jim. Okay.
Oh, it's actually, up until this point, none of them were in particular order. It happened. Yeah. But these last two, are the winners.
Yeah, we didn't pick them out. I just picked them out in the order that they come up on my browser. But these last two are in the order of winning. So we're going to announce the runner-up.
Okay,
first.
I looked it up. Altium is the software for designing PCBs that's made in Delphi.
Altium. Okay,
Altium.
That's the one I know. No, but then I don't really design PCBs. I just fry them by accident by plugging them into something.
So they have Circuit Studio and Circuit Maker and Altium Designer. I think all three are made in Delphi, and they have a Delphi SDK, but they probably have, most of these companies have other technologies on their side. They have other SDKs too, so they may have other technologies too, but I know they do use Delphi in there as well. So,
well, if you're one of the people that's in connection with that product, or who works with that product, hey, drop us a line, either directly to Jim or to me at my Gmail address, ian.barker@gmail.com, because we'd be interested in knowing a little bit more about them. It'd be nice to, if they have written their product in Delphi, it'd be nice to actually do a little bit of a splash about their product. And we're always up for stories, even though the enterprise showcase is this competition's at end now. If you've got a story, please send it in to us, and we will post it on the blog. And if you're not comfortable with writing, send it to us. I'll edit it for you and lay it out and make it look all pretty, and even source some images. But if you've got something to talk about, please do, because we're very, very keen to spread the word, spread the love, shall we say?
Inspire people really is what it comes down to. Okay.
Yes.
The
drum roll. So our runner-up was this one, and I have to say I picked that title, but I think that the actual reason that it won was multiple reasons why. And so the runner-up is by Georgi T. Gerasimov. He works for GateLink in Bulgaria.
Yeah, he had a whole paper he wrote up with tons of stuff in it, right?
Oh my word! It was it was a lot of working for me to edit as well. So, but really great. Really, really liked the article. Very in depth. It was like actually editing a scientific paper. That wasn't really what we were looking for, but the depth of the quality of what he's written was so good that it was very difficult to ignore. All of us liked it. It was one of my favorites, and I think Jim also really liked it as well.
Yep.
And I should mention that it wasn't just Jim and I that judged all of this. All of these articles went through to the project managers as well. So people like Marco and people like David Millington had a look at these things as well and had their own comments. All the articles were vetted before they were published. So we did have someone looking over and saying, hey, yeah, that's good, or maybe tweak this image or something like that. But
well, and the main thing is that product management just loves hearing about these sorts of things, about, like, again, it's the success of all the work that they and the architects and the developers put in, then doing amazing things. It's very inspiring.
If you're working hard at this, then you want to see some of your results in use. Who doesn't? I mean, if you make cakes, it's nice to see people enjoying your cake, and this is exactly it. So lots of in-depth explanation of how this worked, why he only had 34 milliseconds, and that's a fact. I worked it out from the numbers that he got there. That the transaction that needed to be recorded in the database had a period of only 34 milliseconds for it to work. That's some pretty impressive narrow window to get code working. And he talks at length about how they did this, what they did in terms of the math behind it, which was relatively complicated, and how it all worked. Code examples, which were great. It wasn't necessary to be one of the winners or runners up, but it didn't hurt. And
we always love code, though.
Yeah, well, we're both coding nerds, so why wouldn't we? And I think most people thought this was good. It was also one of the ones that won quite a lot of the traffic on the web service and things like that as well, which is another way that we judged whether it was a success or not. He went into a lot of detail about the components he used. Look at these screens. I mean, aren't they gorgeous? They're very much nouveau UI, shall we say, in terms of the affordance of the images, but really great. Really liked it. No flat buttons there. There's not a lot of flatness going on there. And he went on and on about how it all worked. And this took me forever to edit and lay out, but really, really impressive stuff. We thought this was just an amazing one. So Georgie, you are our runner-up, and congratulations.
Yeah.
We will get in touch. Everybody that submits an article has had an email from me already, but Jim and myself will arrange the details. I think Jim has to go and talk to some form of management who's actually got a checkbook, and then we will contact the runner-up and negotiate how we will send you your money. But you win the runners-up prize, Georgie, so good job. And so, Jim, the big grand finale, drum roll. Is from this article called Barracuda, and it's a hazard reporting tool for motorcycles. And what was interesting about this, it's from Alessandro Negri, and he's actually a relatively new Delphi developer, which is, I have to say, amongst the entrants is quite unusual, because a few of them were talking about Turbo Pascal. So they've obviously been around for quite some time, but Alessandro, very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? A full and complete explanation. He even mentions Gemini's favorite library, Skier for Delphi, which nearly shot him to the top of the list. But I'm not kidding. But he talks about Skier for Delphi and a few other things as well. It was a Department of Transport government contract, and it was alerting to motorcycle hazards. And the reason is, if you're scooting along and there's some kind of horrible hazard like oil on the road or tree branches down or something like that, if you're doing even 40 or 50 miles an hour on a motorcycle, I can tell you from bitter experience, because I have injuries on myself from a motorcycle crash, it doesn't take a lot to go from enjoying the breeze blowing through what little hair I have to skidding along on your back and possibly being even dead. So actually, this contributed towards safety and contributed towards well-being of people. But not only that, it's a really well-designed and aesthetically pleasing app. And from a new developer, it was quite impressive. They talked about the Delphi components they use. Of course, they use TMS components because, why not? And TMS have a component for absolutely everything. And they chose FNC maps as well. There's a reason for that later. But they want to be able to use Mapbox, which is an alternative mapping engine as opposed to Google Maps or Apple Maps or anything like that. It goes into depth about the design process and the beautiful website they've got as well, and how they implemented it, and talk about REST API and CSV, and of course, the REST components in the background. They visualize the app in the IDE. They talk some more about how they use the REST components and the JSON libraries and the FNC maps. They showed, this is a very poor explanation of what their app actually looks like. It's actually a little bit more attractive than that in the running, but this was a Windows preview I think he sent me. Maybe I need to talk to him about how to present your apps in a slightly more attractive way in the future. But as you can see, it's using OpenStreetMap there. And he talked about at the end of it, not only did they think that it was good that they used Delphi, but they're now using Delphi to create a mobile application for both Android and iOS using the Skier engine to monitor the progress of oncology patients through their 12-week recovery. So, you know, as a software house, which I think is what he thinks of himself as, they not only did they start using Delphi, but they were convinced enough with their results from the Barracuda app to actually continue using it for other projects as well, which I personally found quite heartening, you know, because this is something that we cannot make you do. We cannot make you love the product. Jim and I can talk forever about it and show you all the good features of it. But if you're using it, only you using it for real projects will make you understand why Jim and I are so excited about project and say, Delphi is the thing you should be using for most scenarios. Not all, but most scenarios, Delphi is the answer. And to see this article here with someone saying exactly that, I went on to use it again for something else. He could have chosen other things. He says earlier on that he's got the ability to code in other languages. So it wasn't like he was forced to through a legacy project. He decided that this was so successful that they would carry on. I love it. And Jim liked it too. And I think for most of us, this was a standout enterprise app. So that's the winner. Yeah. Congratulations, Alessandro.
And thank you to all of our entrants, by the way, and we'll be following up with all of you with the prizes and stuff. So.
Yes, every entrant gets $100, and the runner-up I think gets $500 US. Is that right, Jim? And I think the winner gets $1,000 or something like that. And our eternal thanks and love and kisses and all that as well. But great stuff, and it was a lot of fun, and I would happily have this happen again because it produced so many good articles. It's much better for someone else to be saying stuff and me just editing it up than me to be telling you, hey, you know, use Delphi for the following reasons. It's great to see other people saying the same things. So.
Well, it's good to see the variety of people talking about it because everybody, you know, different stories inspire people for reasons. So yeah, thank you everybody, all of our entrants, and thank you to everyone for watching today.
And congratulations on the winners as well. Thanks a lot.
And we'll see you online. Take care.
Oh yeah, we'll be around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. Bye.